The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello everybody, we have a minute to 8 o'clock and we're just about getting ready to get started. So welcome to tonight. Anne and I are here to take you through the next hour and a half of what we hope will be a fantastic session for you. We're just going to take a few moments just to make sure that everybody is getting online okay. And we will get started now as it's 2 minutes past 8. I'm really delighted that you've joined Anne and I tonight and wanted to say a real sincere thank you for making the decision to give up about 90 minutes of your valuable time tonight to join us on this webinar. So we know that everybody can hear and see us. So thank you to everybody for attending, and we'll start by talking about what this training is all about. What we're aiming for you at the end of this webinar is a shift in the way you think about how you're growing your business. Now, building a business is a huge subject, and certainly building a successful business could take many, many hours to learn the strategies to do this. And we don't have the time to cover all of that tonight in this short webinar. However, Anne and I really want to give you some key ways that you can start to implement immediately to start to build the business you want to have. So we want to give you some great content tonight. We'll be telling you about some key mistakes that business owners make that prevent them from having a successful business. And we'll tell you about some key techniques that we know that'll make your business easy, make it easier for you to build your business. We want to tell you all about the 7 steps that you can take to build your successful business this year. And Anne and I are really excited about this program because these steps are part of our 7 steps program to your successful business. And we'll be telling you about all of this later in the session. We want to just take a pause from all of this content for about 15 minutes and talk you through our 7-step program in about an hour's time, if that's okay. So once we've gone through our 7 steps program, we're going to come back to teach you the final 2 keys that you need to follow if you're going to have that successful business in 2014. Now, we really have some great material to get through tonight, but we really want to just mention that it's important to us that you've made this decision to join us on the webinar. We know you're giving up your precious time. We know that this is an evening, it's an hour and a half of your time. And when you finish the call, we want you to feel that it's been worth your while to have listened. So why should you listen to us talk about a successful business and building a successful business? Let me tell you a little bit about my background and why I'm here today, and then I'll pass over to Anne so that you can find out more from her about how she's built her successful business. So just briefly, I'm a qualified nurse by background and worked in the NHS in palliative care for about 20 years before I moved into the civil service and had a job travelling to Brussels to agree legislation for the UK on plants and seeds. And as you can imagine, I was a bit of a square peg in a round hole. I missed the caregiving role of nursing, and I knew I didn't want to go back to that caregiving role because as much as I missed it, it actually wasn't where I really wanted to be back in the health service with all of the requirements that the government were bringing in and the stress that this was bringing about on the staff. I knew I wanted to make a difference and that it wasn't going to happen if I remained in the civil service. So I made a decision to take some action to change my life, and I trained as a hypnotherapist and NLP practitioner, and got myself ready to set up my own business. And as soon as I could, I took a redundancy package from the civil service and set up on my own full time. And that was 4 years ago, and I haven't looked back since. I set up in the usual way, offering hour-long services to anyone who contacted me. And some months were fantastic, some were absolutely awful. And I'm sure you guys know the problem. It was an empty diary just staring at me, the worry of how to get clients on a consistent and regular basis. And after a year of this worry, I realized I needed to take action, and I hired a business coach who helped me to see that my most valuable product was my time. And I developed a VIP breakthrough day, which I worked with for one client at a time on a VIP basis. And that was my niche. It was confidence building on a VIP basis. And that's what turned my business around. And in fact, it freed up so much time that I set up another business running 8 business groups for women in business. I now help other therapists and coaches to double their income doing what they love. And I'm sure Anne will have a similar story, and I'm just going to pass over to Anne so that Anne can tell a bit about her background and what's led her to be here tonight. Over to you, Anne.
Well, it's great to see so many familiar names on the list, so bear with me if you've heard all this before. For those who don't know me, I've been in business for myself for about 25 years now. And way back when, I studied psychology, economics and industrial relations. I was a fellow of the Institute of Personnel Management in the days before HR was invented. And I was the first and only female manager in a very large printing company. So one of my first roles when I graduated was to help to implement the first set of equal opportunities legislation. And that meant going into battle with 5 trade unions as well as the management of the company. And to this day, I'm still fighting that fight. It's still very dear to my heart. 8 years ago, I founded the Inspired Group, which is a collaborative learning organisation for business owners. And I used social networks to grow that beyond my local contacts. Very, very successfully. It's been a really, really good way for me to grow my business. These days, along with my collaborator Ed Goodman, who's the co-owner of the Cambridge Business Lounge, I've just been commissioned by Pearson to write a book called New Business, Next Steps, and that's due to be published in October. I also, for about the last 4 years, I've been a presenter on the Business Hub show, a radio show going out on Star Radio, and I specialise really in presenting disruptive business ideas, so companies that have emerged usually because of new technology and are causing great disruption in their sector. I also own and present the social media show, and that came about because there is so much snake oil in the social media world. I wanted to sort of try and debunk all the hype around that, and that's been a great success, been going for just over a year now. So in between all that, I still have lots of private clients, and I help business owners really to get more profit and more fun and more satisfaction from their businesses in a variety of ways, depending on how they see themselves in the world and how they see success. So I think that will lead us nicely on to what Siobhan's going to talk about.
We know it's not easy to keep your motivation going in business. And tonight we want to share with you some of the key ways we know to grow your successful business. And we really want to give you some practical tips so you can start to implement straight away. And you can get your business moving in the right direction that you want it to be going in. So let's crack on with some of this. Here's what we're going to be covering tonight. We're going to cover the myths around building your business. One particular myth we want to specify. We're going to look at the one key thing that prevents businesses from becoming successful. We're going to go through 5 of the 7 key steps to that business you deserve to have. We're going to look at the 7 Steps program, just taking about 10 minutes out to talk about the 7 Steps program to your successful business. And then we'll come back to the final 2 key steps you need to take to get your business on its journey towards success. So we've got a lot to cover, and we want to crack on through that. So I'm going to just pass you back to Anne, who's going to take over on our first slide. So let me just unmute Anne. There we go.
Okay, so the first thing we want to talk about is the myth about owning a business, and that is it's not easy. I get so sick of hearing people say, well, usually people who haven't done it, that it's never been easier to start a business. And in some respects, that's true. But it has led to a culture of business owners believing that they can and should do everything themselves. The main thing that stops a business from growing is the reluctance of the business owner to delegate, to outsource, to pay for expert help, and generally acknowledge that they can't be an expert in everything. So one of the things that we're going to be talking about is when to recognise that it's really important to share expertise and skills with other people. So starting a business may be easy, or easy-ish, but running it profitably, growing it, and sustaining it isn't. It requires a whole range of skills, a lot of support, and some jolly hard work. Most business owners I know, especially in the first few years, live, eat, and sleep their business. It's something that you can't put down. It's not a 9-to-5 job. So let's go on and look at one of the key mistakes that many business owners make. So when I'm working with people, one of the things that becomes very apparent is that they really don't have a plan. The little diagram you see there is a very basic plan called gathering information, sorting out your mission and goals, getting a strategy in place, writing the plan or implementing the plan, and then monitoring it and evaluating it, and then going around that circle again to make sure the plan is actually working. So a lot of people put a lot more effort into planning their annual holiday than they do planning their business, and I think it's probably because we've all got this idea in our heads about a business plan is lots and lots of financial information, usually something that you put together to get an overdraft from the bank. But really, it doesn't have to be like that at all. And a lot of the things that we're going to be doing tonight will form your business plan and where an idea of where you want it to go. The one thing I will say that most successful business owners talk about is that they do plan their cash flow. This is a real key element in success, and just a very, very basic A4 sheet of paper that has details of the money that's coming in, the money that's going out, and they look at it absolutely every day. Without fail, it's the one thing that will focus your mind on the most important things you need to do in your business. And usually that's the things that are going to bring the money in, because you know when it's going out. So if you don't do anything else, if you take nothing else away from tonight, do get some kind of a plan in place, and especially a cash flow plan. So we'll go back to Siobhan now, and she'll start talking about how to build a really solid foundation for your business.
Okay, thanks very much, Anne. I think cash flow is probably one of the most important parts of building your foundation for your successful business, that's for sure. And I'm going to talk a few minutes now about this important step. And we've called it building your solid foundation, your foundation. And a lot of you will know Napoleon Hill, and he said, if you can conceive something in your mind and believe it to be true, then you can achieve it. That's quite a remarkable statement, isn't it? And that's why this is the very first step on your way towards achieving your successful business. If you can visualize your successful business, hear it, feel it, really hear it, see it and feel it, and you can really believe that you can achieve it, then you're over halfway to creating the life you want to have. And creating that vision of success makes it real in your mind. And once something is real in your mind, then you actually can achieve it. So the very fact that you can conceive something in your mind and believe that you can do it, it means that you actually can. And I want to show you this very quick exercise that'll demonstrate the power of this. Think about it. Think about what having a successful business means to you. So I want you just to take a moment just to think about this, give it some thought. thinking about what your vision of success is. When you think about your successful business, what comes into your mind? What does your office look like? Do you have any staff? Do you have any fancy equipment? Do you have a nice car sitting outside the door? Have you got a reserved parking space? How is your bank balance looking? How are you feeling? How are you standing, walking, talking? Can you see and hear your confident self? What are others saying about you? What's your husband or your wife saying? What are your children saying? Now, I want you to think about what success means to you. And maybe you might like to type some of your answers into the box. So just have a look on your screen and you'll see that there's a type in box there. Just type in now what your successful business means to you. Don't be shy. Thinking about what that successful business means to you. When you visualize success. Helping people who need it, Sandrine, absolutely. Seeing more of my family, Adam, that's such a really, a positive thing about having a successful business. Respect from peers and family, financial security, John. Not being the person doing all the work, Helen, completely agree. Having regular clients, changing the world, finding more opportunities. Getting my company's Star Consultant Award. Mary, fantastic. Happy customers, having time to create, peaceful location, not an office block, Katie, sounds lovely. Shari is having enough money to support those who need it. Yeah, absolutely. Balance. So these are really, really, fantastic words that you're using about your successful business. And I think you can see that by visualizing it really clearly, really getting that image clear in your mind, you can actually start to create that world, that you want to have. And it helps you to start to work towards it. Now, you may be saying, that's all very well to be thinking about success, but it doesn't always work that way. It's not always plain sailing. Well, here's the thing. I know that. Anne knows that. I know that life has its challenges, which is why we started where we did, that building a business is not easy. What is important is that you have the end point in sight. You know what success looks like, which means that you know where you're going. You have a vision of your future that you can really see, hear and feel. Then you need to build the road between where you are now and where you want to get to. And if you don't have that belief, that vision for your successful future, then the road you build will go off down dead ends or end up in a swamp. And you may be thinking, well, what if I fail? I don't have the confidence. People will find me out. They'll know I'm not good. In fact, I bet everyone on this call has some internal gremlin that creeps in, holding them back from taking the steps they need to take. So recognize that everyone has these internal voices. These internal voices are there on everybody's shoulders, and they're with the people you admire most as well, who appear successful to you. What's different is how those other people deal with these voices. And here's a tip for when this happens. Challenge yourself whenever you hear these gremlins. And here on the slide here are some questions that you can ask yourself. What's going on for me right now that I feel this way? Where is the thought coming from? That could be connected with something very, very far back in the past. Let's just think about where is that thought coming from. Where is the evidence to back it up? What is the first step I can take to change this thought or feeling right now? And this is the key to moving forward, taking action, taking that first step to change, to make change happen. Otherwise, you stay exactly where you are. If you think of someone who is successful, they too will have a lack of confidence and a lack of self-belief. They may have had some bad times on their way towards success, but all of them will say that they have a vision of their own success and that they took action, whatever that action was, to catapult them back onto the road towards their vision. Now, we can only cover a small amount about building a solid foundation tonight because this is such a huge subject. In our 7 Steps program, which we'll be telling you about later, we'll go into this in more depth and really work on getting the right beliefs in place to help you make success happen for you. Then once you've conquered your gremlins, and we'll be able to help you do that, you can make a decision to make your successful business become a reality. On the program, you'll decide on the goals you need to have in place to commit, and you will commit to achieving these goals. Because without a goal, how will you know that you're on track? Now, I mentioned before that when you believe you can make it happen, then you need to build the road between where you are now and where you want to get to. And that's why you need to set the goals, so that you can stay on that road, keep heading towards your vision, and not go down any dead ends. Knowing your outcome, know where you're going, where you want to get to, is one of the key principles of success. Don't start without knowing what you want to achieve. And here are some other key principles of success that you can put into action in building your foundation for your successful business. So take notice of where you're going. Really think about where you're going and focus on that vision for the future. And the second point is to take notice of what's going on around you as you move towards your goal. What are the new things that you're noticing about yourself and about others? And the third principle is to be flexible. Be willing to do whatever it takes to achieve success. Create a climate of trust and cooperation, because we know that people do business only with people they know, like, and trust. Do things that empower you. Don't drain your energy by doing things that drag you down, that you don't enjoy. And mix with people who will carry you forward. And finally, take action, because without action there can be no results. And once you've set your goals, you'll then need to think about your target market. So this leads us nicely over to, I'm going to pass you right over to Anne, because Anne's going to talk to you about niche marketing and the really interesting topic of profiling your customer. So let me just pass you over to Anne now.
Okay, so now we're going to look at the easiest way to market your business. Whenever I try to tell a client that they must start off small and focus on a specialised niche market, they almost always say to me, but I think that everybody could benefit from what I do. If I limit my market, I'm going to get fewer sales. I'm going to miss opportunities. And really the answer to that is that if you've got millions and millions of pounds to advertise and to market your business, then you don't need a niche. But if you've got a limited marketing budget, then that's the only way to do it, really. Because if you try and go too wide, your marketing message will be so diluted that absolutely nobody will take any notice of it. So to be successful in today's really hyper-competitive and over-advertised marketplace, you absolutely have to focus your business and marketing on serving a specialised and probably quite small niche market. It's really about a matter of survival more than anything else. Because every day we're all bombarded with hundreds and hundreds of marketing messages, and most of them we ignore completely. So let me just ask you a question. Of the marketing messages that you do notice, the advertisements and such like that make you take notice, what is it that really grabs your attention? Do you want to perhaps type some of the answers in the box? And then I'll have to ask Siobhan if she can read them out for me.
Hi Anne, I've just muted you again while I read out some of these. The personality of the messages from Adam. Humour works for me, John. I like anything with the word success in it. Images from Katie, graphics from Selena, Clear message from Kate. Originality is important from John. Positive messages from Tony. Short, sharp messages.
Okay, so Siobhan, could we have the next slide, please? Okay, so what you've done now is you've actually answered the question by saying that what really grabs our attention are things that engage our emotions. You know, we get excited, we get a bit soppy, we get scared, we get angry, we get sad, we get happy. All these kinds of things are what the really good marketers are after. They want to hook us in with our emotions. But a lot of the things that we see, they won't necessarily be about the products or the services that we're in the market for. So the ones that are really, really going to turn us into customers are the ones that will trigger not only an emotional response, but they'll make us feel that it would satisfy a need that we personally have. And sometimes it may not even be a need that we're aware of yet. It's always said that Apple are the experts at making people want stuff they didn't even know they wanted. So it's that kind of message that you're aiming to start crafting. So can I get you to think for a moment about bottled water? This may sound a bit weird, and Siobhan, if you could put the next slide up for me. So nobody needs bottled water in this country. We've got perfectly drinkable tap water, and yet £1.5 billion was spent on it last year in the UK. So if you're a bottled water fan, what makes you choose between Highland Spring, which is the top-selling brand in the UK, Evian, Buxton and Volvic, which are the next three, or whatever your favourite brand is? So what is it that makes you go along a supermarket shelf and choose one bottle of water over another? It's less likely to have to do with the taste than something in the marketing message that appealed to you. So, for example, Highland Spring says it's drawn from protected organic lands, so emphasising tradition and taking care of the land. Evian says it's a tribute to purity, so anybody who's worried about contaminated water and that kind of stuff, that's going to appeal to them. Buxton says proudly that it uses 25% less plastic than other bottled waters. So that's going to appeal to people who are, you know, in tune with the environment and want to cut down waste and that kind of thing. Volvic, their slogan is filled with volcanicity. So it's a really fun, active sort of message that they try and get across. So you can see that even in that market where practically anybody could choose any of those waters, they're all defining their little niche, and it's the only way to go, because otherwise, you know, it would just be a bottle of water, like the Tesco stuff and, you know, the own brand stuff that people buy without really noticing what they're buying at all. So if you want your brand to stand out, you have to decide who it's going to appeal to. It doesn't mean that you only satisfy that niche. It means that you select a niche to market to start with, and then as you become more successful, you may have other niches that you want to expand into. So Siobhan, if we could have the next slide, please. So I want to just tell you a little bit about this particular company. It's called Brewdog. It started 6 years ago, and it was literally two men and a dog brewing beer in a shed in Glasgow. They connected with people who are keen on small independent craft beers, which is a very, very niche market. Part of a multi-billion pound drinks market. Even if you just bring it down to beer, it's still billions of pounds, and some real heavy players. But these two guys and the dog now have their own multi-million pound business, and they sell their beers all over the world. And what they did was they got their fans to make them famous. So they connected with just a few people. They made them completely, you know, ecstatic fans. And then they help them to take the message out to the rest of the world. And that's partly what we want to talk about tonight, how you can really emulate that kind of thing, get people on your side, get people to be your advocates, and help you to broadcast how wonderful your business is to all the people who might benefit from it. So I hope that explains a bit more clearly why you need to have a niche. So it's not about restricting what you do, it's about making your marketing more effective. and so that you can attract the clients that you really want to work with. There was something on Twitter today about Warren Buffett said that his idea of heaven is that he never has to work with people that he doesn't like. And quite a few people echoed that and said, this is why I started my own business. So that's really something to aim for, that you choose the people you want to work with. And don't worry about missing opportunities, because that's not what it's all about. So let's have a look for a moment about who you want to work with. So if we could have the next slide, Siobhan. So here we have a lot of folks called Bill. And this is just really a way to illustrate that people may have something in common, but each of those people have very, very definite profiles. And we're going to be looking at how you decide which Bill you want to work for, which Bill is going to be your ideal Bill in all these people in the world. So we're going to look at who needs you the most and who will be the most receptive to what you're looking to offer. So first of all, tell me what you're amazing at. Type it all in the box for me. What are you most amazing at? What do you want to spend the majority of your time doing for the people that you want to work with?
Okay, Anne, we've got some great typing coming in. Showing off, says John. He also likes your slide. He says it's very witty. Massage from Linda. Anyone else want to say what you're really great at? Helping them to feel better during oncology treatment, Sandrine. Yes. Leadership development, Helen. I'm amazing at getting people to express their inside selves, Mary. Lovely. Helping others to be successful, inspiring and teaching, convincing, Bridget. I like it. Coaching, Marion. Helping people to remove their blocks and be happy and successful, Caroline. See what's behind, Selena. Very interesting. Helping managers to be great leaders. These are great answers. Inspiring them to learn, Evangelina. Networking, changing things, making a difference, Katie. That's great. I'm going to pass you back to Anne. I'm sure empowering people, Sarah. Thank you for that. Really listening. Adding value. I'm pretty good at writing, Mary. Yes, we would agree with that too. Mary does some of the best 60-second pitches I've ever heard. I'm going to pass you back to Anne so that she can continue on.
Well, that's fantastic. Thanks for sharing all those really, really great answers. I'm sure if we were to work, I don't know how Siobhan's feeling, but I'm getting the feeling that I really want to start working with you right now and develop those niches from the answers that you've given us. It's going to be really exciting to do that. Let me give you a few examples of other niche markets. So I've just watched Wayne Sleep on TV talking about starting ballet classes for people who were chucked out of ballet when they were younger because they got too big. So that's a fantastic niche, and I don't know why somebody hasn't thought of that earlier. Dancing classes for fat people who don't want to go and dance with sylph-like folk. On-site iPhone screen replacements. Great for people who, people drop their phones all the time and they don't want to take it to a shop, they want it done straight away. Mobile car servicing. Someone comes out to your office and does your car servicing in the car park while you're in the office. There's a wonderful 5-hour energy drink. It's an energy drink that's sold in 2-ounce portions, and it gets more than $1 billion worth of sales annually. So Red Bull, the market leader, comes in a 16-ounce can. So this is a little tiny thing, takes up no room in the fridge, great to put in your bag. So they've gone for a real niche. Company called Hungry House. It's a technology company, and they've developed technology that helps restaurants to put in systems so that they can keep up with the demands for providing takeaway food. So, very specific kind of thing. One of my favourites is a flower delivery service for people who've been wronged. So you can send a bunch of decapitated roses or twisted carnations or even deconstructed teddy bears to people who've really ticked you off. There's a company that provides non-electrical tools and appliances, and they were originally designed for the Amish market, but they're now sold all over the world in places where there's an unreliable power source and that kind of thing. chiropractors who specialise in specific sports like golf, t-shirts, not shorts, t-shirts for menopausal women, made in a very special Stay Cool type fabric. That's a real niche. Or a business advice service for introverts, and I really wish that I'd thought of that one. I'd be good at that. And one of the people that we know in Cambridge is developing a 3D printer for use by primary school children, because 3D printing is going to be part of the national curriculum, but not for primary schools. So he's developing that niche. So you've got an idea there of how you can really take what you're amazing at, what you really want to be spending your time on, and say this is where you're going to go. But before you make a complete decision about that, I want you to do a little reality check. So you need to ask yourself if there's a real need for the service or product that you want to provide. And you can check that most easily by looking at your competition. If there is no competition, the chances are that it's because there's no real call for what you want to provide. Very occasionally you get somebody who comes up with an absolutely brand new idea, but mostly it's a variation on a theme. And the second reality check is, do the people that you want to work with have the means to pay you? And going back to what Siobhan was saying earlier, this is all about where you want your business to go and the plan and the goal, your financial goals and all that kind of thing. So just do some basic maths. How many customers are you going to need, and how many hours will you have to work with them to get the income that you want to earn? And if that doesn't work out, perhaps you may need to choose a more profitable niche, just until you're established, and then look at doing perhaps some pro bono work or charitable work with the people that you really want to work with. So, Siobhan, if we could have the next slide up now, please. We're going to go on to defining your ideal customer. Now, these two guys on the slide have got a lot in common, as you can imagine, but they're also very, very different people. And they're going to respond to very different marketing messages. So what we want to do is to take a couple of things. The way you can define these people is to look at demographic characteristics and psychographic characteristics. So the demographic ones are facts that you can actually verify. So there's things that people would put on a census, for example. So if you think about your ideal customer, what age would they be? What gender? Where are they likely to live? What sort of education will they have had? What's their ethnicity, their religion, their income bracket, the number of children they're likely to have? So all those kinds of things are what you need to know about them. And that may mean that you have to do some market research to find out where they are. The psychographic characteristics are things like their hopes and fears, their hobbies, their political affiliations, the things they do for hobbies, their hobbies or pastimes. And that will give you a great insight into who they are. And there's whole templates and things that we can give you that will help you to do that, to really profile your customers. And the more you know about the people that you're targeting, the easier it is to craft your marketing messages. I mentioned earlier about competition. If you identify your competitors, have a look and see what the people in your niche are doing right now to solve their problem or to create the delight that they want. Where are they going to get the service or the product that you want to provide them? And then you've got an idea of how you can attract them to you rather than to your competition. So it would be a good idea, if you've got pen and paper handy, just to write down the different options that your customer has at the moment. And don't restrict yourself to, a different supplier, a different shop, a different therapist, whatever it is. Consider their personal relationships. Where do they go for advice? Where do they go for activities? What media, entertainment, books, all that kinds of things are they turning to instead of working with you? So once you've done all that, you start to really get an idea of the kind of person that you want to be working with. But don't just make a list of attributes. Give your ideal customer a name. Give them a story. Make up a whole backstory for them about where they live and what they do and how they spend their days and their time. Because these people need to become a part of your life. They need to be your number one priority when you do any kind of marketing. John, who's on the call, John Torrance, writes the most fantastic blog. And I don't know whether John has someone in mind when he writes each blog post, but his blogs are of such a quality and so consistent that I find it hard to believe if he doesn't have a particular person in mind that he's writing for. And if you can get to that point, it makes your marketing so much easier. And really, no details too minor. Because what you want to do is to make yourself irresistible to your ideal customer. And in order to do that, you have to know exactly who they are, and especially what takes their breath away. So if Siobhan could put the last slide up for me there. Okay, I'll come back to Harley Davidson in a little while because it's a company that I admire a lot. It's got a very particular way, not only of marketing, but of being in the world, and we'll come back to that in a minute. So I'm going to hand you back over to Siobhan now, and she's going to talk about how to cultivate some of these relationships that we all need to run a successful business.
Thanks very much, Anne. And just to let you know that John responded to say thank you very much for mentioning him in his blogs, and that he's probably writing just for somebody just like me, probably. I think he means him, not me. So thank you, John, for that interaction. It's great to be able to just connect with people like this. So it's really great that you're all interacting. Thanks a million. It makes it so much easier for Anne and I. Okay. I want to talk to you about cultivating relationships. So Anne has talked about, that niche market that you want to develop, and I'm going to explore that a little bit further as I move through this particular step. So this step is about getting out there and being visible and cultivating relationships and networking. Once you've decided what your business is, you need to tell everyone that you're around and you're ready to help. And it's about relationship building. It's about giving people the opportunity to know, like, and trust you. And if they don't know you're out there, they are not going to know that you're ready to do business. It's as simple as that. And because people buy from people they know, like, and trust, I want you to just think about a situation for a second. Think about who you buy from. If somebody was to knock on your door today and you'd never met them before, and they said, I'm selling websites, I'd like you to spend £600 with me on a website. Would you really do that? Would you really hand over £600 or so, just like that, to someone you didn't even know? But if you'd met that person several times, chatted to them informally, maybe even met them for a coffee once or twice to find out more about them, and now you felt you knew them and you liked them, so when they knocked on your door, I bet you'd be more inclined to at least listen to what they had to say. And if your neighbour had mentioned that he or she had bought a website from them, then that might be all you need to make you part with your £600. Because at that point, you do know them, you like them enough, and you certainly trust them because you've had that recommendation. And networking gives you this opportunity to develop this relationship. However, if you really hate networking, then you aren't alone. I run 8 networking groups, and I hear this regularly from business owners, new people who come through the door to just check out our networking groups. They hate walking into that room full of strangers, and they often don't feel confident about approaching people. They don't know what to say. They hate that 60-second pitch they have to give, and they don't know how to follow up after the meeting. And it is a bit of a skill to know how to move forward with developing these relationships. But it's a key part of your business. And there really isn't enough time to go into it in detail here. I'd love to spend time talking to you about your 60-second pitch. And it's really so important that you have those skills. And that's why in the 7 Steps program, we're actually developing a whole complete step, a whole complete module to it, an evening to it. But for now, we want to try and give you as much content as we can about networking. And I've put together my 3 golden tips for you. And one of my first top tips is that networking is not about selling. Understanding this alone will change your perception of network meetings. It just takes the pressure off of you. Business networking is about getting to know people. And that's the way to see each meeting you go to. Forget about the selling. It's just about meeting people and getting to know them. Networking is a long-term strategy. It's not a quick fix for your business. So treat every meeting you go to as a way of connecting with like-minded people. And not to sell to them. Don't sell to them. Just keep it in your mind that this is actually about connecting. And my second tip is to listen more than you talk. You have 2 ears and 1 mouth. People like to talk about themselves. We all do. It's human nature. We like to know that people are listening to us, and we hope that they'll find us interesting. So if you're on the receiving end of that, really listen and engage with what people are saying. Listen for the interesting things. And don't talk so much. Just allow them to talk and ask questions. And my third tip is to be helpful. Listen for what people are saying and think about how you can help them out. There'll be something in what they're saying that you can connect with, either by way of sending them an interesting article afterwards that sheds light on something they've said. Maybe you can give them a lead. Maybe there is somebody who needs their services, or maybe there is another business person that you know who you think you could introduce them to, and they may have some useful synergies together, maybe be able to do business together. So recently I met a gentleman who does motivational mapping, and it's not something I do in my business, but I managed to connect him with several recruitment companies. And the recruitment company, it was a HR consultant, was absolutely delighted with the connection, and they've subsequently gone on to do business together. So not something I would necessarily have thought of myself, but it actually worked really well for the 2 of them. So remember that you're there to build relationships. You're not selling. You want to be known as someone who is helpful and who people can begin to trust, and who really follows through on their promises. But my top tip is to develop 1 sentence that describes your business. And you'll have experienced this scenario I'm going to tell you about, I'm sure. You ask somebody what they do, and 5 minutes later they're still talking, and they're still talking about their business, but you're unclear about what that business is because they're not really specific. And you don't know who their target market is. You want to help them out, but you can't actually hear what they want from what they're saying. Their message is unclear. Now, you don't want this to happen to you, and I'm not talking about your 60-second pitch here. I'm talking about the golden nugget. Developing your 60-second pitch is part of our 7 Steps program, but this is just a 1 line that you can use at your network meeting that clearly tells people what you do. And it ties on in with what Anne was saying earlier about niching, and that the real narrow market that you want to serve. You want to get that message out to people. So let's have a go at this. You may have a pen nearby just to take some notes. If you take a look at this sentence and begin to work on filling in the gaps. Now, you're not going to have time to do it fully in this session, but it's worth coming back to this over the next couple of days so that you can use it at your next network meeting. So the sentence is, I help a type of person with X pain, something that really bothers them, to achieve an X solution to their pain so that they can achieve whatever their overall goal is. So let me give you an example of a website designer. If I was a website designer, I might say, I help small business owners design effective websites so that they can reach their target market and build a profitable and successful business. Another example might be, I help women over 40 lose 1 stone in weight so they can have more confidence and self-esteem. So remember, this is just a one-liner that gets it out straight away what you do. In my case, my one-liner is, I help therapists and coaches double their income doing what they love. So there's no elaboration going on. It's just very clear who my target market is, what their pain is, and what their overall goal is. So think about the type of person or people, the market that you serve. Are you targeting people with back pain, for example? Are you dealing with small businesses, women over 50, mums with small children, male business executives? That's what goes into the type of people, the first bracketed bit on the sentence. So remember that profiling you've just done with Anne. That's what you can use here. And then the next bit, to achieve whatever their pain is. So what is the pain that you're helping them with? Is it that they're having problems filling their diaries or reaching their target market? Is it that they have a problem making the sale? Maybe they're so disorganized that they can't get on with their work. Do they have a box of receipts, for example, that's under their desk that they keep falling over? Now, how are you going to solve it for them? That's the next bit. What are you going to do that's going to solve their pain? Are you going to design a website? Are you I know Kate Kelly, who's on the call tonight, is helps people sort out their business processes. So are you the sort of person who's going to go in and organise those office processes so that they can think clearly, so they can have a free desk that they can work off of? Are you going to give them, are you a bookkeeper and you're going to take that box from underneath their feet that they keep falling over and design them an easy method of bookkeeping? And so that they can, this is the last part of the sentence, this is where you need to know what their overall goal is. So if you help them fill their diaries, you'll be helping them make a profit in their business. That's their overall goal. And if you give them processes that improves their office, makes it run smoothly, you may also be giving them a way to improve their profits. Or you may be giving them a way to see their family more because they've designed such good processes. It frees up their time. If you're helping somebody to give up smoking, then maybe you're helping them with their long-term health issues. So why not try this yourself tomorrow or before you go to your network meeting, your next network meeting, and see how it works for you. So this is your opening one-liner. Whenever people ask you what you do, remember it's important to be specific and clear, so that's how people hear your message. Even if your niche is still evolving in your mind, you can still write your one-liner for that month. So you could say, if you're a hypnotherapist, this month I'm focusing on helping people to stop smoking so that they can lead a healthier life. Next month it could be people who are wanting to get over their fear of flying because everybody's going away for half term, for example. So you can change your nugget month on month if you like. But as we know, building your reputation in your business isn't all about being visible at business networks. You also need to be visible on social media these days. So I'm going to pass you back over to Anne, who's going to tell you more about her top tips for developing your presence on social media.
Okay, so I want to start, I think, by saying that I really have a problem with the phrase social media. Those of you who know me already know all about this. And that's because social media marketing is very different to social networking. They use the same platforms, but they're very, very different things to do. So when you're networking online, the real difference between that and face-to-face face-to-face networking is obviously that there are no geographical barriers. There's no time barrier. You can talk to people for a little while. You can drop the conversation anytime you like. Unlike having to make an excuse and walk away from someone in real life, you can just stop talking. And there's no social barriers either. You don't have to wait to be introduced. So you can have the most amazing conversations with really well-known authors, with people who are really at the top of their game in the sector that you want to get into. So it's a fantastic way to develop all of your contacts. But not only that, it's the most effective way to get them to introduce you to their network. So all the barriers, all the restrictions that apply in terms of time and location have all gone. But what you need to do in order to get that attention from someone, again, because there's just so much going on in the social networking spaces. The lifespan of a tweet is about 6 minutes if you're lucky. And trying to break through all the noise is very, very difficult. So you have to have quite a few well-developed techniques to do that. The other thing about online networking is that it's nominally free. I say nominally because it can swallow a huge amount of time. And again, if you've ever spent any time on Twitter at all, you know that I spend a lot of time on there. But then again, I've been using it for many, many years. I've got a lot of contacts, and I do get a lot of business from it. So, I justify the time I spend there because I know it works. What you need to do when you start getting into this stuff is really keep track of the return you get for your efforts. So, you've probably heard that Facebook, if Facebook was a country, it would be the 3rd biggest in the world. That's an interesting statistic. It's absolutely meaningless unless all the people that you want to contact are likely to be on Facebook, which they're not. And even if they are, they're not there to connect with you. So the whole business about social media, if you can put the next slide up for me, Siobhan, is that over 60% of businesses who go onto social media to do their marketing get absolutely no results at all. And there's one very good reason for that. It's because social networks are where people go to waste time. They go to have fun. They go to have to chat with their friends and family. They go to meet interesting people and discover new things. They go to play games. No one ever joined a social network to be sold to. So if you pitch up there with your marketing messages, then you're just going to get ignored, and you're going to really, really annoy people. You see, most forms of media, press, magazines, TV, radio, billboards, all the other stuff that marketers use, they're one-way communication channels. They're broadcast channels. And it's a way to get a message out to the masses. But on social networks, the big difference is that it's a conversation. Your audience is really in charge of that conversation. They can walk away from you at any time. They can switch you off at any time. So a lot of the marketing messages really do get ignored. But the wonderful thing about it is if you treat it as another way to network, it's so effective, it's mind-blowing. But you need to know how to work with that and how to use all those facts to your advantage, because what you really want to do is to build a community around your business, a community of raving fans, of people who will recommend you and introduce you to their friends. Because there is absolutely no substitute for someone saying to their group of friends, hey, you should try this, this is good. And people always take more notice of the people that they know in real life, even if the interaction is taking place on social networks. If they know those people in real life, they will take notice of their recommendations. So you need to get into other people's circles of friends. And one way of doing that is to create absolutely fantastic content. So every one of your messages, whether it's a tweet, a Facebook status update, an update on LinkedIn, a Google Plus post, whatever, they need to be outstanding. They really need to be more than the casual chat that you have with people that you network with normally. I mean, it's fine to do that as well. But if you're going to break through that barrier and get these exponential results and get lots and lots of people noticing you, your content needs to be really, really clever and to stand out. So, Siobhan, could I have the next slide, please? So there's really only 3 rules for this great content that I'm talking about. You need to be useful, funny, and/or original. The last little thing, the last little face there is the what I call just so lame they might as well not bother being there. You know, the people who tweet inspirational quotes or what they had for breakfast or all that kind of stuff that it really has no effect at all on anything. Nobody's going to take any notice of it. So be useful, funny, or original. If you get 1 out of 3, that's great. If you get 2 out of 3, that's fantastic. If you get 3 out of 3, you'll be like James Blunt, who is at the moment the king of Twitter. He's just so funny, it's ridiculous. But that's, again, the entertainment world, the whole of the world. So to grow your network exponentially, you need to make every message count. You need to keep your audience in mind and your purpose in mind. You need to know exactly what you're going after. And what you're going after is a small audience of big influencers. So you need to figure out who are the big players in the sector that you want to break into. Who would you be delighted to have a recommendation from? Who would you be delighted to have an endorsement from? And I'm not talking about all that nonsense on LinkedIn. I mean, someone who really takes notice of you and says, hey, this person's really good, and says to all of their network, you should take notice of them. So the first thing I'm going to ask you to do is to identify the big influencers and thought leaders in your sector. So again, if you've got paper and pencil, do that. But don't forget, if you're not keeping up with all of this and you can't get your head around it all tonight, we're going to be sending you a recording of all this so you can go through it again tomorrow. So identify the big influencers and thought leaders in your sector. And then once you've done that, look them up to see which social networks they're on. So most people will have those kind of social links on their website, or you can just Google, you know, a name and say, and you know, put in what their Twitter name is and that kind of thing. They're quite easy to find. So just take a minute or two to jot down the people that you'd most like to get a recommendation from. Once you know where they hang out in social spaces, try and connect with them and engage with them. So on LinkedIn, that might be quite difficult because some people won't do that. On Twitter, it's dead easy. Facebook, it's more difficult. Google Plus, it's easy. Once you've done that, find out how you can help them to promote what they're doing. So if they're putting out blog posts, you can share those, you can +1 them, you can retweet them. And get them noticing that you're helping them. And this way they're more likely to do the same for you. So obviously, you know, you only do this with stuff that you're really interested in. It's not a nasty sort of manipulative thing to do. It's stuff that you would probably be reading anyway because these are the thought leaders in your field. But sharing it and helping people to get it out to a wider audience is a great thing to do. So the third thing I would suggest you do is to identify your competitors and see where they hang out too. See how they use social networks. And one of the things that's most useful for this is to use Twitter lists. On Twitter, you can put anybody in a list. You don't have to be following them. So you can make a whole list of your competitors and make that list private so they don't even know that you're taking notice of them. But that way you can really keep on top of what your clients are talking about, what the influencers are talking about, what your competitors are doing, and you can have as many other segments as you like. So if you like using social network for social things, you know, for following football or celebrities or whatever, you can have them all in different lists, and it just makes it so much easier to keep on top of what they're all doing. The fourth thing, as I mentioned before, is to create really fantastic content, and then you share your own content, and this is usually done by blogging. Blogging was the very first social network. It's been in existence for a lot longer than any of the others. Did you know that Facebook was 10 years old yesterday? It seems extraordinary, but it was. So you write a blog post and then you share them on all your social networks. Now, this can be done automatically, but for maximum effect, you should be crafting each link for each different audience, because you need to craft some kind of link that will draw people in and make them want to click that link and go to your blog and read it. Not only read it, but share it, comment on it, and that's one of the greatest ways to get your work noticed by people that you wouldn't normally come into contact with. So if I could have the next slide, please, Siobhan. So the last point I would make on this is to really measure your results. What Einstein's writing on the board there is that the return on investment is your gain minus your cost, and it should be financial. An ROI should always be a financial measurement, not return on influence, not return on anything weird and wonderful that social media gurus put out there. But it's a return on investment, and if your investment is your time, then you need to know exactly what your time is worth. So figure it out. How much is your time worth per hour? If you were working with your most rewarding client, how much would you be earning? And are you really going to spend that amount of time on social networking, or any other networking for that matter, unless you know what you're getting back for it? So track that, track your return on investment, and then assess that, do it perhaps over 6 months, and see where it's taking you. See what adjustments you need to make. Go back to that little plan that we made, doing the assessment, and then revising, and then perhaps make a different kind of plan for the next time around. So if I could have the next slide, please, Siobhan. One of the biggest things in using social networks is that you must really have a smartphone, and you must be prepared for your audience to be viewing whatever you do on a smartphone. This is, the really big thing. None of the developments on Facebook are allowed to be presented to the Facebook board on anything other than a mobile. That's the only screen they look at it on. And then if it looks okay there, then they'll look at it on a tablet, then they'll look at it on a laptop. Hardly anybody is bothering to look at stuff on a desktop or a PC anymore. So these are really the ways that your audience will access your content. So you need to make sure that it's looking good on every kind of screen you can imagine. And social networks are changing all the time. So at the moment, teenagers are leaving Facebook in droves because, for all sorts of reasons. Twitter's being used to influence the stock market. There's all sorts of shifts going on. It's very, very difficult to keep up to date with exactly what's happening. But the most important thing is that visual content is incredibly important. So if you can get as much visual content into what you're putting out there, the more likely it is to get noticed and to get shared. And there are two platforms that almost everyone in business should be on, just two, LinkedIn and Google+. If you're on those two, you'll probably do okay. If you want to add in Twitter, that's a really good way, especially for linking to blogs and things like that. Now is not the time to start a Facebook page. If you haven't got one already, don't even go down that route, because Facebook is pushing businesses into paid for ads by really suppressing the posts on business pages. Facebook at the moment is a minefield for businesses, and it's turning into a social network with paid-for ads, and not a place where businesses are going to flourish putting free content up, certainly. So the idea of all of this is to create create a community of people who, as Siobhan said earlier, know, like and trust you. That's the whole point of all of this. But it can be an awful lot of people if you do it right. And it's really how Siobhan and I managed to attract over 100 people to sign up for our webinar tonight in just over a week. So there's a huge number of people. They're not all on the call tonight, but they all want the recording. So it really, really does work. And I've been using social networks since 2007. And as I mentioned earlier, it's really helped me to build my business. I've got so many real advocates, real fans, and people who've hired me on the strength of how they've seen me react with other people on Twitter and LinkedIn and such like. And half the time I didn't even know they were listening. So bear that in mind with whatever you're doing. So I'll just go back to where I started. Social media marketing is one thing, and needs to be treated with great, great care and suspicion, because it can take up an awful lot of time and money for zero results. Social networking, you should be exploiting to its fullest, because its potential is huge. So anything else you want to know about that, we could spend weeks and weeks and weeks talking about it, but I'm going to leave that there for now and go back to Siobhan, who's going to be talking about how to use all your skills and talents to get out to as many people as possible by creating really good packages like the one we've done tonight.
Thanks, Anne. That was great. Anne and I were talking during the week when we were preparing this about how we were going to cram so much content into it. And I hope you're finding it really valuable, because we have so much material. It was hard to narrow it right down into the time we had allowed. So we may go a little bit over time, but I think you're going to find it worth your while to stick with us, because there's some really great stuff. I hope that you're finding really great stuff on this tonight. So right now I'm moving on to step 5, and I'm talking about value pricing for profitable packages. And the very first thing I want to get clear about on pricing is about you being clear about what you want to achieve in your business and how much you want to earn. If you decide that you're setting up your business and that one of your values is to help others who are less fortunate than you, that you want to give back to society, then that's really fantastic, and I can really appreciate how that can be your driver. But you have to be clear yourself on how you're going to bring money into your business so that you're going to fund that aspect of giving back. So you've got to get enough in to live, to pay your bills, to run your car or whatever, to be able to give back to the people who can't really afford to actually buy your service, if you want to give discounts or anything like that. So if your target market don't have enough money to pay you, then you need to start to look in other areas and other sources that you can approach. So maybe umbrella organisations who might fund, particular groups of people that you want to target, that you want to sell to, or you want to provide your service to. Or, as Anne mentioned earlier, it's possible that you may need to choose a different niche market whilst you build your business. Until you're at a point where you can then start to provide your service to people who can't afford to pay the full price. So you can then offer other aspects of your business at a lower price or on a sliding scale to those who need more help. The point here is that you can give back to society through your business by all means, but you need to be sure you have enough money coming in to deal with the bills and invest back into the business so that you can offer your services to those people who need them. So with that said, what are the key issues you need to keep in mind about pricing your products? The first thing is that it's not all about the price. Price alone doesn't drive people to buy from you. And this can be a hard thing to grasp, particularly if you're new to business. You can set yourself up, you think, oh, I've got to have my price low, I need to be the cheapest, but you will still not make money being the cheapest. And that's because your customer and how your customer thinks about money, their money mindset. So if you think for a moment about the last car you bought, you probably decided on your budget first, did some research, read up on various models, asked some friends, decided on what car that met your needs, what the car was that met your needs, and then went to a variety of dealers for prices. And once you'd narrowed down your list of those cars that met your criteria, you probably decided on which car you wanted to buy. But was it really the cheapest? Maybe it was the most expensive. I guess that most of you went for the mid to high end. A lot of people choose that as their strategy, get 3 quotes and go for the middle one. So our perception is that you get what you pay for, and cheap often means lower quality in our minds and less value in the long run. So why should it be any different if you're going to see a hypnotherapist or if you're having a website designed? My first key tip here is that people will compare your price, and if you think that being the cheapest means that you'll be the busiest, you do need to think again, because people's perception of price means that the lower it is, the less effective it'll be. So with that in mind, how do you know what the right price is? And it's a huge topic. I'm only skimming the surface of this tonight, I realise this, but here are some of the factors to take into account when you're pricing your products. So the first of these is to get to know your customer. This ties in with niching and understanding your target market. So what Anne was saying previously, when you understand your client, you could design your products and your services so that they meet your client group's needs. And that's what they want to pay for. You can use Monkey Survey to do this. You can ask questions on your LinkedIn groups or Facebook pages, wherever your target market hangs out. The second is to consider those in your target market who actually want to pay more. So remember what we did in, with this exercise about buying the car. There may have been those of you who decided that, you'd go for the highest price, and that, even in the current climate, there are those who will go for the highest price. And that's the fact of it, that even right now, there are those who want to pay premium prices. That's their buying strategy. That's their mindset for money. And really, you're not actually meeting their needs in your business if you don't provide them with a high-end, high-quality product to consider buying from you. So they like what they see, but you actually don't come across to them as somebody they want to spend their money with because they don't see that high-end, high-quality product. They only buy if they see the quality in it. Now, it can be difficult sometimes to think about how you can design a premium product or a VIP service, and that's something that Anne and I can help you with in our programme. But for tonight, think about how you can create a high-end, high-quality programme of services, or buy a product from those customers who actually want to spend more and who want to buy. And my third, and probably the most important point, is that you need to know what your financial target is. This is about having your vision for your business. You need a plan. Decide on how much money you want to earn from your business. What's your revenue target? What's the profit you want to make? Take that revenue target and factor in the costs for producing, marketing and selling your product. And then you come up with the price per product that you want to charge. And if you only have one product, that's simple. But if you have several, you need to estimate the number of products you need to sell over the year to get the amount in. And then you divide your revenue target by the number of units you expect to sell, or the number of products you expect to sell. And then you have the price at which you need to sell your product in order to achieve your revenue and profit goals. So if you have a number of different products, you need to allocate your overall revenue target by each product. And then do the same calculation to arrive at the price at which you need to sell your product in order to achieve your financial goals. Now, there are other factors, I know that, when coming to pricing, but these are the key factors. So by now, you have some ideas about pricing, and I have skimmed through that because we are running pretty much slow on time at this point. We've had so much content going in, so I want to just give you. We've had some idea now about what we do and our values in terms of how we see our programs going. And I'm going to pass you over to Anne now just to talk to you about our 7-line program. And I'd encourage you to keep with us because you may find that as we move forward, there are gaps in what you're doing in your business that are holding you back from achieving the success you deserve. And so it might be useful for you to listen through this, and we then finish with our last 2 steps in the program. So I'm just going to pass you over to Anne now.
Okay, so that was great. I love the fact that what Siobhan has just shown you there is exactly what we've done with this program. We've put a huge amount of content in tonight, far too much as it happens, but we've also got 7 full 90-minute sessions already planned around the content that we've done tonight. So what we really wanted to do tonight was to give you a blueprint, something that you can work from with some really powerful directions. And if you want to go away after tonight and work on this on your own, that's great. But what we'd really like to do is offer you some help. And this help will be along the lines of not just what to do, but how you do it. And the most important part of all is the support that you get while you're doing it. Not just from me and Siobhan, but from the groups that we'll put together. I know from years and years of working with business owners that the biggest reason they get stuck and don't make they don't make the progress that they promise themselves is that they don't have anyone to hold them accountable. They don't have anyone to share their frustrations or to help them when things go wrong, to cheer them on when things go right. And that isolation is a big drawback when you're running a business on your own. So you've just heard Siobhan talk about the importance of creating the packages. And in a moment, I'm going to be talking about one of the most exciting parts of the whole program, step 6, which is about selling with integrity and why it's such a fantastic time to be in business. And I'm quite likely to go completely over the top with that because I'm nuts about it. But first of all, I want to tell you about this particular this package that we've put together. So it's based on exactly the same content that you've had tonight. You know all the 7 steps that we've mentioned. But what we're going to do is we're going to take you through all the details of what the program's about. So it starts on Wednesday the 12th of February and it runs for 7 weeks. So a full 90 minutes each week. And exactly the same format as we've got tonight. We're going to take a 1-week break on March the 5th, which is after the 3rd session, so that you can actually put things into practice and take time to draw breath and see what's working and what needs sorting out. And then the final week will be on the 2nd of April. Everything will be recorded, and you will get the recordings and you'll be able to keep all those forever. So if there's a gap between where you are now and where you want to be, we want to help you to fill it in. And the program is really for people who want to make a difference. So Siobhan, if you'd like to put the next slide up for me, please. So what we're going to do, you'll see along the bottom of the slides here that Siobhan and I have put some testimonials up. We know that most of you on the call know us already, but we're pretty proud of these testimonials, and it does show that we know what we're talking about, and we've done some good work with other people. So these are the 7 steps, very similar to the ones that we've done tonight, and these are all the different things that you'll master. So Siobhan, if you could put the next slide up for me, please. So we don't want to go through this, this awful kind of market trader thing of the full price is this, but just for you tonight it's going to be that, and then da 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 da. But we do want to make you an offer. So the full programme is going to cost £495. That's what we'll be selling it for. But because we want to get it off the ground, and because we want you, the people who've been on this programme with us tonight, what we want to do is give you an early bird offer. So as well as the recordings of all the modules, all the templates and handouts, we'll have a private Facebook page where you'll get peer group support, and the Never Get Stuck service, which means that you get unlimited email access to me and Siobhan. What we'd like to do is offer you this full 7-week programme with a big saving of £200. So if I could have the next slide, please, Siobhan. So the early bird bonus, this is if you were to sign up by Monday the 10th of February, the early bird bonus is that you get a free question and answer group call 2 weeks after the course to answer any questions. So that means that if you have got hung up on something, we'll help you to solve it. We're going to give you the 12 Steps to Success workbook, which is something that's been developed through the Inspired group, based on Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, but with real examples of people who are working through these steps to success. It's a very, very powerful workbook, and the material is just extraordinary. You also get a social media review with me, and that's a consultation, and a Nail Your Niche consultation with Siobhan. So with all those different things, what we're hoping is that you'll decide that rather than work through all this on your own, that you'll come on board and work with us and work with the group so that everybody can help each other. And this is what you get if you decide to book on the course by the 10th of February. So if I could have the next slide, please, Siobhan. So as well as saving £200, you could also pay over 3 easy instalments of £100 each. And what we'd really like you to do is, if you decide that you want to do this, go along to the 7stepsprogram.com, and there you'll find a page where you can book. It's a very, very simple process. There's one button to pay the full amount of £295, and there's another button to pay in 3 easy monthly instalments. Now, if you're committed and you really want to get cracking and you're happy to do this and sign up for it tonight, we've got an even bigger bonus. And this is because we really want you to get off to a flying start. So if you sign up before midnight tonight, so you'll have time to process what we've been doing this evening, you'll have a little time to think about it. But if you sign up before midnight tonight, we get what we'd like to call a Borrow My Brain call. Now, I've been doing this with some people on who've joined up to the social media course that I've been running, and it is really a case of no two businesses are alike, no two people are alike. So what we want you to do is to say, look, I want you to think and focus on my business for the duration of this call, and really give me your best advice for how I could tackle this particular thing. It's incredibly powerful because Siobhan and I have both got so much knowledge that just trying to share it in something like this is very, very difficult. But when we focus individually on one business, it's a very, very powerful thing. And it's something that we'd each normally charge £250 for. So that's your extra special bonus. Because and it's as much for us as it is for you, because what we really want to do is to take all the energy from this group that we've got tonight, all the fantastic answers that you've done, and already started sharing with each other, and really use that energy and really get cracking with this and give you the best possible start, so you actually start straight away, and then go into the first module, hitting the ground running. Of course, the whole thing is subject to a full money-back guarantee, because you probably know by now that we both rely very much on our reputation. And if you're not happy with the course and it's not what you expect, then we give you a full refund. Absolutely no questions asked. we really only want to work with people that are going to be happy and successful with what we're doing, and also that you'll recommend the program to others. So that's our little sales pitch. This is our, this is our package that we've put together, and we're both very, very happy to offer it to you because we're just blown away by how much there is in there and what a difference we know it makes to people. So we're going to move on very, very quickly now. We're already 4 minutes over time, so we're going to wrap up very quickly with the last 2 sessions. So I'll tell you again how to book all that before we finish, and we'll send it out afterwards. So we're going to move straight on to step 6, which is selling with integrity. And as I mentioned, this is a real passion of mine, and I'm going to have to rein myself in not to take too long. Selling with integrity is, for me, it's a no-brainer. And it seems to be that for some reason in the UK and in business at the moment, selling has got a really bad name. It's got a slightly dodgy air, as though salespeople are inherently dishonest. They're more concerned with their own results, with meeting targets and all that kind of thing, rather than providing clients with the service or the product that they need. And this makes people nervous of going into sales conversations. And there's an awful lot of stuff out there at the moment about how to have good sales conversations. And we all need that, because without sales we don't have a business. But there's a big shift going on in business at the moment, and that might help to address the issue. So if you're even slightly uncomfortable about the sales process, this might help. So that aggressive promotion type of thing that marketing and sales was all about is really changing. And more businesses, large and small, are really embracing openness, honesty, transparency, and treating clients, customers, suppliers, employees, and all their stakeholders with equal respect. And they're creating a different style of business. This is the business that people are proud to work for, really proud to supply, proud to invest in, and proud to buy from. So instead of looking at your service or product as something that you need to persuade people to buy, what you're looking at is to really produce the kind of business, the kind of service, the kind of product that people are really pleased to buy. And are almost coming along saying, tell me some more about this. When can I start? When can you help me? And it's not just us small businesses that are doing this. I mentioned Harley Davidson before, and Harley Davidson and Honda, people like Patagonia, Whole Foods, Yo Valley Farms, Zappos, Costco, they're companies that have put people at the heart of their business. And they're not doing it because it's politically correct, and it's not just the flavour of the moment. They're doing it because it's a really long-term competitive advantage that they get from it. So, Siobhan, if I could have the next slide, please. So, heart isn't a word that is used in many business schools or training manuals, but you may have heard a current vogue for heart-centred businesses and selling from the heart. And what this means is that smaller businesses are really catching on to the way these big successful businesses have been operating for quite a long time. So a heart-centred business, it's not restricted to touchy-feely type stuff, and it's not a new age hippie thing. And some of the oldest heart-centred businesses have been going for over a century. I've got some great examples here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put them in an email to you after this call, because I really don't want to keep you on the call too long, but there's some fantastic examples of heart-centred businesses. And when we started doing this call tonight, Siobhan asked you to define what success meant to you. And what this means for me is that you look at the kind of person that you want to be in the world. You look at what you have to do to be that sort of person and what you'll get as a result. And that, to me, has to be in complete accordance with what you want to do with your business. Because when you're sure of your purpose and your values, your business becomes a vehicle, not only for you, but for all the people that are involved in it. And when you represent the bigger picture, you're not asking for a sale. You never have to ask for a sale. You're asking people to share the world that you're creating. And when they buy, they're buying so much more than a simple service or product. And they're not comparing price, as Siobhan said earlier. They're really looking at value, at the value they're going to get in their life. So you don't really need sales techniques. You don't need to overcome objections and know how to close a deal and all that kind of stuff. You simply need to find the people who want to do business with you. And that brings us right back to where we started. If those people don't share your values, they won't buy from you. And that's a good thing. Because if they did, they'd be the customer from hell. And you'd have to give them the sack eventually. So if this all seems a bit fanciful, and if you don't think that a small business can help to change the world and the way we operate in it, then just look at the evidence. You can make money by starting a company like Wonga, or you can make money by starting a company like Fair Finance. And again, I'll send you some details about that. The difference is creating misery and debt, or giving hope and helping to create more wealth. We used to be taught that you couldn't have both profit and social responsibility, but that's being proved wrong time and time again. So for me, this is one of the most exciting times to be in business. It's absolutely fantastic. So Siobhan, if we could finish off with the 10 Commandments, please. So this is from a business called the Good Life Project. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's all about not just creating a living, but creating a good life. And the 10 Commandments are about: have a strategy, but be open to serendipity. Magnify your results with delight marketing. Train your mind in the alchemy of fear. This means that if you have the ability to live with a question long enough, genius will emerge. That point of fear where you're not quite sure what's going to happen is the point of creativity. Find or purchase a sense of humour. There's too much seriousness about business. Humour is essential, and I know I can see John Torrance nodding his head at me. Embrace the power of mentoring. We've already discussed how important it is to have somebody on your side and somebody who can help you through when you're making changes. I love this bit. Do epic shit that actually matters. Don't just be another also ran business. Do something that really, really makes a difference. Align your actions with your heart. Treat people with compassion. Exalt love as a business ideal. Now, I hope nobody's cringing at this, because it really, really works, and it's not just touchy-feely. As I say, it's got good financial backing for doing that. And lead with service and soul. Leadership is something that you have to do when you run a business, whether you want to or not. You are going to lead your community. And if it makes you uncomfortable, that's a good thing, because in the end, leadership isn't about you, it's about the people who follow you. So I'm going to draw that to a close and let Siobhan finish off with our very last session, and then we'll have to say goodnight to you before we're really ready to.
Thanks very much, Anne. And I'm sure I certainly know I'm speaking for Shari, who has said that she absolutely agrees with Anne that selling with integrity is something we must do. It's, no persuasion needed. And, I think we're all coming from the same hymn book on this, that selling with integrity is just where we are all at. And I'm pretty excited about hearing more about what Anne has to say about that. And I think if Anne could have had 2 hours tonight, she could have filled the slot with lots of information about selling with integrity, because it's just so important to us all, really. So we have come to our final step, and it's the most exciting step of the whole night, and it's about planning your profitable future. And I'm going to keep this short and sweet. We want to make sure that you take action as a consequence of the hour and a half and a bit that we've spent with you tonight. It's so important that after any session, any educational session of any sort, that you take some element of it and you put it into action. And that's what I want to ask you right now. I want to ask you right now, what is the one key thing that you're going to commit to doing tomorrow after this call that you can implement tomorrow for your business from what you've heard today? What would be the one key thing? And I'd like you to type it into the box. I don't need to mention any names if you don't want me to, but I want to know what your one action point is from the hour and a half you spent with us tonight to plan your profitable future. Make a plan. Absolutely. Thank you. That's the very first starting point. Write my golden nugget. Brilliant. Social networking. Discovering my niche market. Planning. Define my niche market. Niche market is important to everybody. Finalize my perfect client profile. Yeah, client profiling was really good. My niche. Yeah, absolutely. Get started. Thank you. Contacting people who are happy to be mentors for small businesses. Yes. Develop a golden nugget sentence and define the niche that I seem to have two. Look, I'm right with you. That can be happening, and you'll find over time it will work through for you. Get to know my customer. Introduce others to this program. Thank you, Shari. Really appreciate that. Cash flow. Define my core values. And I'm really glad that you've all gotten something valuable from the hour and a half. We've had tons of material, and it's shown that we're 15 minutes late finishing tonight, and we have actually cut out bits and pieces as we've been going along because of time. But all of this stuff is in our 7-step program. So we really hope that you've enjoyed tonight, and we have come to the end of the training, and we hope you found it useful. There will be a recording of the live event circulated tomorrow. And we really look forward to connecting with you again. But in the meantime, if you'd like to receive the fast action bonus of a Borrow Our Brain session, then go over now to www.7stepsprogram.com and sign up for the 7 Steps program to your successful business. So I'm just putting up the summary here again for $295 today. This gives you all 7 recordings of our modules, the templates and handouts, the private Facebook page for additional group support, our Never Get Stuck service of unlimited email. You'll get our bonuses of a free Q&A call after the 2 weeks after the course, and the 12 Steps to Success workbook, which is fantastic to get you going, a social media review with Anne, and a Nail Your Niche consultation with myself. And the URL is www.7stepsprogram.com. And so if you want to sign up this evening, go straight through to www.7stepsprogram.com, and that's where you can sign up. That will get you the Borrow Our Brain call as well. If you sign up by tonight, by midnight tonight. If you sign up, it's actually by 9 a.m. on Monday the 10th. Sorry about that. I was mixing my 9 a.m. and midnight tonight up. If you sign up by 9 a.m. at Monday at 10 on February, on Monday the 10th of February, you will get the whole thing for $295, with the exception of the Borrow Our Brain. So that's our URL. The offer closes at 9 a.m. on Monday the 10th of February. If you have any questions at all, please come through to either Anne or I. There are our 2 email addresses. And it really just brings us to say thank you to everybody. You have been fantastic. One of the things that makes this work for Anne and I is to have interaction. And although we're not talking to you, we're keeping an eye on the questions that have been coming through. And it's been fantastic to be able to engage with you, to recognize names, and even those we didn't know, to know that you would chat to us during the call. I really hope that you found it useful, and if we can answer any questions about it, then please email us. So just really now to say thank you very much. Thank you for staying on late, and bye for now, and thank you so much for listening. Bye bye.